property managers can be owned by the landlord. In our case, we have our own property management team of people. In the case of big institutional owners that may be, let's say, insurance companies where they're making more of a passive investment in real estate, they may hire third-party management companies, names like, probably like Cushman and Wakefield, or Jones Lang LaSalle, we call them JLL, CBRE. These are big national professional firms that manage property on behalf of owners for a fee. So they get an annual fee or monthly fee for managing a property. Now, depending upon the size of a property, you would have, let's say, on a typical building that we own here in downtown Tampa, we have a full-time property manager, a tenant coordinator that reports to the property manager. That person receives calls, incoming calls, which are now more and more computerization. We have software systems now that interface with the office manager, let's say, of each firm in our building. So if we have 50 tenants, each one of those office managers of those 50 people can go online, register a complaint: it's too hot, it's too cold, my garbage is not being emptied, all the things that we're supposed to be taking care of. Obviously, we're supposed to keep the offices clean and functional. We're supposed to keep them cool in Florida, warm in New York in the wintertime, and we're supposed to make them secure. So sometimes you'll get security concerns by tenants. All of that comes under the heading of property management. And so our job as property managers is to keep tenant satisfaction high, because when it comes time for a lease expiration, you want that tenant to renew, because if tenants don't renew in your building, you have a vacancy. That vacancy costs you a lot of money where rent is not coming in. And then you have the joy of having to rebuild the space. I say that in quotes because right now labor is in short supply, so tenant improvement construction has really skyrocketed. So if you vacate a tenant, typically a new tenant coming in does not necessarily like the layout of the old tenant. Every tenant has their own specific need typically. So if you lose a tenant because you haven't done a good property management job, it could cost you vacant downtime. It could cost you new tenant improvement construction costs, and you pay a broker to bring in that new tenant. So all of that adds up to huge dollars, and your job as manager is to not make that happen. Now, obviously, corporate consolidations occur, mergers and acquisitions, companies relocate out of town, they go bankrupt. So there is an unavoidable factor that no matter how good a job you do as a property manager, you're going to lose tenants from time to time. But a real good property manager makes the property conducive to tenants to renew their leases and makes it attractive, and does things like, putting a beautiful orchid right on the concierge desk and making sure that that concierge smiles at every person coming in the morning. And at 8 o'clock at night, when that woman is walking to her car, that security guard walks that woman, I'm being a little chauvinistic by saying woman or man, to their car at night. So those are the little things that all add up to great tenant satisfaction or attracting new tenants into the building so that your vacant space gets leased up. That's all the job of property management. And then keeping expenses down is a critical item, because at the end of the day, we're a for-profit business. We want to maximize revenue, but we also want to keep expenses as lean as we can. So here in Tampa Bay, we own a portfolio of over 2 million square feet. We use the buying power to try to buy the cleaning contractor that cleans all of our buildings, the toilet paper, the street sweeping, whatever we're doing, the parking lot and parking garage sweeper contracts. We're trying to buy those down as cheaply as we can to maximize profit. Typically, we don't have property managers do leasing. They perform a very critical assist function to a leasing team. We keep leasing people separate from property management, but they work very much in partnership. So, for example, when a tenant is going to see space, we send out that calendar invite directly to the tenant, and the property manager is copied, even though it's the leasing agent's job to meet that tenant at the project. The property manager automatically knows that all the lights are to be turned on 20 minutes before the tenant arrives in the space, because a brightly lit space shows much better. All the blinds are opened, so the views are maximized. The space, if it has not been cooled down, the air conditioning is on, debris is cleaned up, and it's presentable space. And in some cases, the property manager will accompany the leasing person, because there are often questions on the tour like, what time is the security guard here? Is he here at 2 o'clock in the morning? Because I've got people. Those types of questions on an important tour can be answered by property management. But the leasing people have the primary responsibility for leasing.